Yeah, afterwards.
Talking about horror movies.
Talking about horror movies.
Yeah. Okay. Like a podcast with no viewers.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jordan.
Yeah.
3,
Oh, yeah.
2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Get Your Paint On this fantastic snowy Thursday here in Washington, Seattle, Bellevue, what have you, whatever that is. I'm going to introduce our guest for today. We have the wonderful William Hungerford.
Hey, how are you?
Beautiful. Beautiful voice. Please never forget. And our also wonderful Tony Konachek.
Good morning.
One of the best of us.
The second most beautiful.
Second most beautiful man at Privateer Press.
Yeah.
I tried
second
to
most.
outdress Jack Coleman today.
You can't.
I can't.
You
And
can't.
then I
It's
saw
impossible.
him walking down. I was just like, I just wanted to just give up.
Yeah. I give up all the time.
Well, sure, but I mean, when you're comparing it to Jack and Tony, just
It's true.
why
It's true.
bother?
You just can't. You can't try hard enough. So, want to talk to you guys a little bit about the stream schedule coming up. Tomorrow we have. Let's see here, the staff showdown.
Yep.
Between Hungerford and Oz.
Yeah, Oz and I are going to play Monster Apocalypse, and there's a chance, not guaranteed, that we might even have some new stuff to show off and talk about that people haven't seen yet. So
Dope.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing about it after the fact.
You'll hear us yelling, don't worry.
Yep. And as normal, we've got Primecast Live going to be on March 22nd at 10 a.m. Learn about all the new stuff that we're going to be talking about there. And then, as per your usual weekly shows, we got the Dev Hangout Wednesday at 10 and good old Get Your Paint On here on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. Don't forget to also check out Danny's Hobby Terrain blog over at Privateer Press Terrain. Going to show this sweet new piece he's been working on for the big, huge tower. It's the base there with all the smoke turning into it, which is really awesome. I've been seeing him working on that. It's been really nice to see that kind of come to fruition. And a nice little log for chopping your little
He was
fire.
very excited about this log pile.
He was
when he was telling me about it.
He was Danny excited about this.
He was.
He really, really was. So yeah, check that out. Privateer _press _terrain. Go check all that stuff out as stuff comes up. We also have lock and load tickets that are still on sale. Don't forget, it'll be June 21st through 23rd, 2019. Don't forget, I don't know if we still have hotel rooms open in the block.
I think there's a few left.
Okay, cool.
It was real close. We were, I think, we have like 60 blocked out, and we were in the 50s for having them reserved.
Yeah, they sell out very, very quick. So make sure you guys get hopping on that. And then lastly, we've got a little bit of mini crate action. Same mini crates from last week, I believe. I forget the name of the.
We got the Seeker of Silence.
Yes, Seeker of Silence.
Yep. So subscribe by March 19th to get that one. And then for L5R is Bayushi of the Scorpion Clan.
Ooh, fancy.
Yep.
Also very, very cool.
And if you do the 6-month sub, you get the VIP model in your next mini crate if you do the War Machine mini crate line. And that's the Bride of Arcadius, which I'm really excited about personally.
That is such a fantastic model.
It is.
It's so good.
But obviously, I'm Minions biased, so of course I'm going to be excited about the Minions model.
I'm not Minions biased, and I love that model. That model's incredible.
Also, as we were talking about before the show started, I'm a huge fan of horror of all sorts, from the classic 50s monster movies like Universal style, like Hammer films and all that kind of stuff. And
that just tickles that itch, don't it?
Like, yeah, man, Bride of Frankenstein style Arcadius, that's great.
Awesome. Well, now that we've talked about all the requisite items, let's get to what we're painting today. So I think last week or the week before I mentioned that I was going to be painting up a Scorn army for use at shows and such. Hopefully I can get this done by Adepticon for all of those who are going to be there. But basically, we're going to start at Molik Karn. First list is going to be Makeda 3 with a little bit of Molik Karn action going on there. To show you one of the things that's already done, this army is going to be inspired by a couple of Scorn models that were painted up by Brendan Roy, given to me as a gift a while back.
B. Roy?
B. Roy, our wonderful own beautiful B. Roy. So we're going to kind of expand on this and take this through the rest of the army. We've got a couple of pieces, just the Gladiator from that So this is what we're going for.
Nice.
And we can go ahead and get started on that.
Jordan, can I ask you something about the way you're doing the armor paneling? Because I didn't know this is what you're painting, and this is how you're painting it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny, because I'm painting some models right now with the exact same way, where I want a gold trim, and I'm doing black armor panels.
Yep.
So I do all the gold first, and then I go in, and then I highlight the gold to completion. Like I finish the gold 100%, mainly through washes and dry brushing.
Yep.
And then I go in, and I block in all the panels within, and then highlight them. But I found personally for me, it's easier to do the trim first, then paint in the panels, versus doing the panels and then doing the trim second.
Yeah, so when I first started, I was actually the opposite. I liked painting the panels first because I felt like it was easier for me to paint within the lines there and then clean up any spillover on the trim afterwards. But you know what's really easy? It's just dry brushing gold on models.
Yeah.
Super easy. So that's typically the way we do it in the studio as well, is if we have this is actually how we typically paint scorn models, is we'll dry brush on all the gold, highlight it, and then we'll lay in glazes of the reds into the sections of the lacquered armor plates and highlight and shade them from there. So this is going to be pretty traditionally how we do it here, and it's a lot easier, to be honest. It's quicker and easier. Putting the base coat and first highlight on this model took me maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes earlier. So, but we're going to start with a little bit of a mixture of brown ink, Thamar black, and a little bit of scorn red and umbral umber. Probably don't need the scorn red and umbral umber, but you could probably just go brown ink plus a little dot of Thamar. It basically is just going to be a brown ink glaze that's got a little bit darker because of that Thamar black.
So you said you don't necessarily need the red or the umber, but why are you adding it then?
It just adds a little bit more saturation and color in there. I wanted a little bit better coverage because I tried this before on a different model and the glaze was a little too patchy. So I wanted to add more paint and less ink so that it would cover a little bit better. And I'm still keeping this pretty saturated. This is not super watered down, just because I want it to cover better.
Yeah.
But you can see this on my thumb. This is basically kind of the color that we're going to be working with.
Yeah, and you're keeping it that wet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is basically just brown ink plus right on into those areas. So.
And thanks to everybody in chat. Jordan's focus right now is obviously on the model in front of him. But if you guys have any questions, I'll be trying to get those to Jordan as they come up. Any questions you have about hobbying, painting, assembling, anything that a master painter would be able to help you out with. If you need help with your car, not necessarily the best person to ask. I don't know. Are you a good mechanic?
I am not.
I
know
or driving
actually
in snow.
nothing about cars. So don't ask me car questions because all I would tell you is to go find a reputable mechanic.
And for those of you watching, we'll be talking about a lot of stuff throughout the show as Jordan paints. Obviously, primarily his painting and what he's working on. But we got some C-Facts coming up later on where we're going to ask you some tough trivia questions. And you can, as chat, jump in and see if you can figure them out. We'll also talk about just generally what's going on.
The other thing that I actually didn't mention is some of you might notice that Molik Karn's arm is not positioned the correct way on here. I decided to do some medium to heavy mods on some of these scorn models, just because I didn't really like the original way that Molik Karn was posed. His arm is typically like up here with the sword, so I just reposed it and backfilled it with a little bit of putty to make sure that stayed right. Also, his front arm is pulled up just a little bit. So it's not quite as tight into his body. That makes him in a little bit more ready battle pose, I thought. So
Cool.
Did that.
Jordan, we got two questions for you.
Yeah.
One is not painting related at all,
Okay.
but it is you related,
Oh,
and the other one is
cool.
very much painting related.
Yeah.
So the first one's from Travis, Dank Legacy.
Yep.
He wants to know, did you get a haircut?
Did. I finally got a chance to go see my barber and get a fancy haircut. So that was kind of nice.
The second question, this is from Forged of Souls on Twitch. They want to know if you have any tips for painting candles. So I guess what they want to know is traditional white wax candles with like flame effects on the top, like you'd see on pretty much the entire Gatorman line.
Yep.
Yeah, Forge of Souls. If you have, if you can be more specific, like we can be that general, or if you're talking about a specific problem you're having painting the candles, that might be helpful.
Yeah,
too.
like what about the candles is the question? Are you trying to like figure out how to do the translucent like wax effects or the glow on the candles? Like what exactly is the question there, right?
So while he's answering that, David Shirley over on Facebook says, for what you're painting currently, what ratio of ink are you using? Like, what is your ratios on the paints?
It's basically 3 dots or 3 drops of brown ink to 1 brush load of. So I added a little bit more umber because it was a little bit more inky than I wanted it to be. Just a minute ago.
Yeah.
So that was a brush load of umber, and then it was a dot of Thamar black, and I think that's basically it.
Cool. So Forge of Souls got back to us on Twitch and said primarily they want to know about painting the standard candle wax. I know how I do it. How do you do it?
It's I have to remember. It's been a while since I've painted our candles. If I were to paint a candle right now, I would probably just use whatever. Are you looking for white, or are you looking for just wax, or just a?
I think they're looking for like
form.
a traditional kind of candle,
Okay.
like a white candle.
So white candle, you want to use basically Menoth white highlight with a little bit of like gray in there, because you want it to be really desaturated, because that's what gives you that kind of like pastel-y, or not pastel-y, but like that chalky wax effect.
Yep.
So I would try that, and then you'll typically highlight with just straight Menoth white highlight afterwards, and that'll give you a pretty good approximation. Colored candles are a little bit easier in my opinion, just because you can do more of the like use a desaturated red or green or what have you, whatever color you wanted to use, and then you can go back over it on the like edges with a really like kind of white or grayish white version of the color, to kind of get that like translucent edge that you'll see on a lot of candles. Like you'll tend to see if you have like a half melted red candle, it'll be really kind of like whitish or reddish, like a whitish red at the top, because you can basically see through it. So that sort of thing is kind of what I would recommend.
Sweet.
For that.
I have a like your way probably comes up with like the super fancy pro way of making a candle look good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to paint so many candles for my Gatorman, I have a quick and dirty way I do my candles, and it came out looking pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
I get a really light gray, so not quite pure white, but a like almost white gray, and paint the candle that. Then take a black wash the whole thing in it, make sure it really settles in there, and then leave a little pool, a very small pool of the black wash on the top, like resting on the top. When the black wash dries, it gives the candle the look of, because most of them are sculpted as if they're melted.
Yes.
They've been melting. So what it does is it makes the top, underneath where the flame should be, look dark, like the flame's casting a shadow, and like there's burn marks from that candle being used multiple times. And then it adds sort of a grittiness to the rest of the candle, so it looks like a well-used white candle. You know how they kind of eventually get a little dirty and messy and crusty?
Yeah.
Yep.
It gives it that look, which for my Gatorman worked out perfectly, because I wanted it look like a freestanding candle that people on the swamp would walk around with. It's not supposed to look clean. I think your way would make a really great clean-looking candle, which I've never tried to do.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that is like that's just the base. Once you paint the candle, like you can dirty it up however you want, right?
Yeah.
So you're not tied into specifically doing it that way and leaving it. Because like typically when I make stuff dirty, I'll paint it as if it's brand new, and then I'll dirty it up afterwards.
Yeah.
with the exception of like really, really, really heavy rust, in which case I'll just paint in oranges and browns because that's just the color that it's supposed to be.
I know Tony has a couple questions from chat he wants to ask, but I've got one for you that I don't think anyone asked, but has come up a couple times. What is your number one advice for somebody for brush control? Because right now you're trying to get your paint in very specific places, right? You're trying to not hit those edges as much as you possibly can. Outside of just have a steady hand, do you have any tips or tricks on like doing the fine work?
Don't worry about making mistakes. You can always fix it later. Like I think worrying a bunch about always having to have that perfect line is like nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Like even the best painters in the world will make mistakes. It's just learning how to fix those mistakes or using those mistakes to your advantage is I think what is the part that there is to learn there, right?
Okay.
And obviously, kind of, I know you said not going into this, but it's just practice more than anything.
Sure.
Is the more times you paint that line, the better the line will look every time you do it.
And if you want a little more information, I posted a link into the chat for one of our Formula P3 Presents videos about brush control.
We did a video on that?
We did a video on that.
I do actually have.
That was B-Roy.
I do have another thing.
B-Roy?
I have a tendency to brace my pinky on stuff when I'm like, you'll see it a lot when I'm painting these models in general, is I'll always have my pinky resting on the cap, and then I'll use that as a brace to go in and paint other things. And that just keeps my hand from free floating, and it gives me more control over the brush. That way I'm only using these 3 fingers to move the brush around, and I don't have to worry about my whole hand moving. So that's kind of a good trick to get a little bit better brush control.
Cool.
If you're not already doing that.
Tony, you got some questions from chat you want to throw Jordan's way?
I do. I got a quick one. At least I think it's going to be quick. Quasitor 8086. Sounds like an old computer reference.
Quasitor. 8086.
Does the studio have written down formulas for how models are painted, or is it left open to interpretation?
We have written formulas for our paint recipes. In fact, a lot of them are in the older Mark II books. I believe they are.
Yeah, I know. I've seen those books referenced a lot when it comes to showing recipes.
Because, like, for example, when I go to paint like Signar or something like that, I just did this pretty recently for doing some touch-ups on a Signar models. I went to the Signar book and I pulled it open and I used the recipe out of that because that's just the easiest way. There are some. We do have like a small little book, or well, two books that have like handwritten recipes from our various studio painters for specific things that may not necessarily be in the core books. Yeah, like all of the Mompoc recipes are written down for the stuff that I produced or recipes for, and the stuff that Brendan did. As well as like all the Grimkin stuff that's not in the book. Yeah, it's all written down.
I saw that book recently because we were talking about doing some color schemes for some just in studio armies, and I kind of thought it was going to be like a Necronomicon style book.
Was it going to be bound in human flesh and inked in blood?
Gilded in gold. Is that the right? What is it when it's on the paper edge when it's in gold?
The Necronomicon is bound in human flesh and inked in blood.
Yeah. Okay, but I thought it was going to be intense like that. Like and you open it up, it's going to be these beautiful painted swatches and just calligraphy with the paint colors, and it's not. It's a spiral bound notebook.
And then we're going to summon.
There's no paint.
We're going to summon deadites.
It's just color names. Yeah, like handwritten color names.
I mean, most of it is like these are the recipes. Mostly match it to what is already in existence. So it has a little bit of interpretation, but for the most part, it's pretty locked down, which is helpful. It's always nice to have a recipe. It also makes painting a lot faster, just so you don't have to worry about trying to figure out exactly what was used before or have to come up with something entirely new.
So there are definitely a lot of cases, though, when the color scheme, I mean, you have to encounter times when the color scheme is not predetermined.
Oh yeah.
So what's the process then?
I mean, a lot of it is like there is a color concept that exists, right? So it's, for the most part, if it's not a color that already exists in our world, so Khador red or Signar blue, right? It's open to a little bit of interpretation, which is fun. It gives us a little bit of room to kind of like play around with stuff. But a lot of it is just putting paint on the model and seeing how it looks. And if you don't like it, adjust it a little bit. Like obviously with the color concept, there's a general goal in mind of the overall look that you want. But within that, there's a lot of play that can be had with the colors. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was pretty thorough, actually.
Okay.
You know what time it is? You've got the sound effects.
Oh, okay. We're doing, all right. Yeah, let's do it. Hold on.
We got 3 of these bad boys. Everyone, it's time for some C-Facts. Now, C-Facts is a little trivia game we like to play with chat on Get Your Paint On. We're going to ask a question and see if those of you watching can figure out the answer.
Okay, you ready for this? Hold on.
Yeah, let's hit it. They were always usually on point. I love you so much, Tony. They're usually on point with what's being painted today, so we'll have probably some Molik Karn related ones. Let's see what our first C-Fact is.
Okay, go ahead and read it off the paper because I have to truncate the answers on screen, or questions
okay.
on screen.
So we're just doing the first one,
Yeah.
yeah? So the first question for everyone is, what is one of the unusual aspects about Molik Karn's physiology? We'll give chat a little bit to see if they can figure that one out.
Yeah,
What's
looking
some...
for one in particular.
Yep. What is something weird, and not that he's a Cyclops with one eye. We do know that he is a Cyclops with one eye. But,
Wait, he only has one eye? What?
yeah, he's a Cyclops.
It's implied in the name. It's right there.
Yeah, but for a Cyclops, what is something that's unusual about him? Travis says large base versus medium. No, Travis, we're talking more lore and fiction. There are not actually bases connected to the feats of our heroes as they run around the setting.
That would be
Travis,
crazy.
get your head out of the rulebook, please. We're talking lore.
Turnstar says really, really good hair. But I think the Cyclops Shaman actually has better hair. It's like some Fabio rock
Like
star
a flowing mane.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely flowing. Underground Heretic says he's unusually intelligent and charismatic. Striker 11 says 2 banners instead of 1. No, we're looking for something specifically about his physiology, something about his body that is very strange for a Cyclops. All right. Alec M. Luda over on Facebook says that he has 2 stomachs like a cow. That's horrifying, but also not true. We're gonna give chat a few more seconds to get your answers in, see if anybody gets it. So far, nobody in chat is right.
Have we stumped chat?
This one's hard.
With a C-Fact?
This one's really hard. The thing is, I'll give you a hint. If you took all the Cyclops models, this is something you could notice. Just off the models.
Let's practically hear the Googling right now.
Let's check in with chat one more time, see if anybody has got the answer correct of what is the unusual aspect of his physiology. And Zulaman gets it right in Twitch chat. Good job, Zulaman. He has an extra finger on each hand compared to all the other Cyclopses. So, yeah, Molik Karn, 1 extra finger per hand. So this actually originally happened as an art error. Art error, that's hard to say for me, in the concepting phase that just got along far enough that nobody had caught it. By the time that it was caught, everyone was kind of like, yeah, let's just make it part of what he is.
So maybe that's why he's so badass, right? Like he's just got that extra digit.
Yeah. So it was decided that he has a mutation that, in addition to just being a bigger Cyclops, he has an extra finger per hand, which is something that does occur like in the real world. There are humans that have extra fingers per hand. What's the name of that? Polydactylism, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, you sure?
Polydactylism, I believe, is the term for someone who is born with extra digits. But yeah, that is our first C-Fact. Molik Karn, 3-fingered freak.
3-fingered. He's got 4. He's got
Right,
an
4.
extra,
Yeah.
extra digits.
4 fingers, because most Cyclopses have 3.
No, he's got 5. Most have 4.
3 to hold the sword, 1 to balance against something while he's
This is
painting
a regular
miniatures.
Cyclops. He got 3. Boom, boom, boom. Plus thumb.
Oh, I can never see that thumb.
Boop, boop, boop. We're getting there. Yeah, this is also another conversion that I did because
Thumb threw me off.
savages are not great at holding things, or specifically this one. So.
So I'm going to go back up because there's another question on here from, where'd it go? From Nick Barbie. And Nick, you actually, your question touches on something that I had planned to bring up with Jordan today. So Nick says, if you were considering painting a reddish-orange skin tone on Thagrosh the Messiah, what colors do you think would work well for the chitin and the Authentic glow? I've been trying to think of schemes. And one of the things I've been doing some more Monpoc painting recently and painting up in studio colors. And then as I started to think about how I might want to paint them differently, I realized that I was going to stock color schemes that I use in the past, just colors that I like and ways I like to paint. And it made me think, like, it's real easy to get stuck doing either following a studio scheme or painting kind of schemes that you like and are
Right.
comfortable with doing. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But if you're wanting to kind of break out a little bit, Jordan, do you have any advice for working new schemes and trying new stuff out?
Yeah, so first things first, I'll answer the original question, and then I'll answer your question after. So the first question, if I recall, was they wanted to know how to paint or some suggestions on, was it
Reddish-orange skin on Thagrosh and what would work well for the chitin and the Authentic glow.
So I would definitely use brown for the chitin. Typically for me, chitin, I want to be a distinct color that kind of sort of pulls from the skin tone itself. At least that's the way I like it. Obviously, our Legion theme is a little different because it's like a reddish brown on top of the like cool cold colors. But I would go with like an orange, so or brown. So I would do something like. So if the skin was something like these 2 colors, I would have the chitin be like this, or something like that. You could also do like something like this, have it go into like reds. So have these 2 be the skin color base, like base shade, and then have this be like base highlight, something kind of to that effect. That would kind of be my recommendation. It kind of depends on like what you envision or what kind of orange you really envision, right? I tend to go for like more earthy tones when I paint that sort of stuff. I'm also in an earthy tone sort of mood these days for painting. So that's just kind of where my head's at. But a suggestion, which is going to answer Tony's question, is I would look at references of other people painting armies of a similar color and find something that you like or that you like part of but not everything, and then kind of make it your own. In a lot of ways, I've kind of done the same thing where, I don't have a great idea of what I want. I know I want to do something different. So I'll just like look at pictures of painted armies and see if I find something that kind of piques my interest, and then kind of just go from there and pull parts of something from here, parts of something from somewhere else, and then kind of develop my own scheme as I kind of look through these photos of awesome painted armies.
And the color wheel would be super useful during that too.
Yes.
If you're not familiar with the color wheel, definitely check it out. You can find plenty of references to color theory and the color wheel online, and it just informs you of which colors complement others and which ones are like I once, before I learned about color wheel, I was painting a model and I did like a very bright green and like an electric blue, and let me tell you, it looked terrible. So that's because I didn't follow the color wheel. I mean, I painted it fine, but at the end I looked at it and I was like, this is just ugly.
Yeah, there's plenty of times where you like sit down to paint and you're like, I want to use this blue.
Yeah.
Like I just want this blue to just dominate my entire force. And then you sit down and realize like you can't paint the entire model in just that color. You have to have a lot of good stuff that goes with it.
Yeah. I goofed real hard. I basically painted it Seahawks colors, but I did it wrong.
That sounds awful.
You still just working on those armor panels right now?
So the armor panels are basically done. I'm kind of lining in all the ropes that are going to be black because I'm going to basically throw a black wash over this whole thing, which will kind of bring it into this sort of like this color. And I think I've hit this with like a matte varnish as well after the fact.
Okay.
So, because that's how you get this kind of like duller tone to the armor plates.
Sort of that
right?
antique look.
Yeah, and then I'll bring it back up with highlights after it's all been dulled down.
Okay, so right now you're just on straight Thamar black?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I'll highlight all of this stuff after I do the wash. The nice thing about the wash is it'll go back in and it'll define all of the lines in the armor plates. Mm-hmm. So it'll bring all that detail back that I've kind of covered over with the initial base coat dry brush.
So 2 Plus Tough in chat says, longtime viewer, first time commenter. They have a YouTube channel that focuses on the lore of different tabletop games. They want to dive in the lore of the Iron Kingdoms. Where should I start? Well, Doug Seacat, our lead writer, is in there right now making a recommendation. And so for those of you listening that aren't reading the chat, I'm just going to repeat what Doug said in case that question is important to you. Doug says, I'd recommend picking up the RPG books, especially the core books for Full Metal Fantasy, Unleashed, Kings, Nations, and Gods. There's a lot of other sources that could work as well. Before Doug said that, that's exactly what I was going to recommend as well. Those books are gigantic 500-page beasts of lore.
Kings, Nations, and Gods is a beastie tome.
Yeah.
Just huge.
And it has so much information. Also, 2 Plus Tough, and I think Doug might get to this one here in a second. There's also the novels you can get from Skull Island Expeditions, Blood of Kings, Acts of War. There's a lot of fiction out there, but if you want that lore overview, just a generic, not a specific storyline, but a generic let me know what the setting's about, those 3 books in particular are very strong for that.
Okay, Jordan, while you are lining...
Yep. We're doing another CFAX since we're talking about lore?
No, we're not going to do CFAX. We're gonna jump in. We have our hashtag P3 Painters on Instagram.
Okay.
And people have been submitting photos of the models that they've been painting.
Sweet.
And so every week we like to try and pull out some of those and take a look at what people have submitted. I think you're going to like this first one, actually.
Yes.
Hungerford. So here you go. Ready?
Yeah.
Boom.
Nice. Let's take a look. Barnabas 2. I like the purple tongue. I like the glow effect that matches the tongue as well on the axe. And the heart. I like that apparently this Barnabas's innards are just purple. Bright purple. It's very Mardi Gras of who did this one? Oh, Chris did this one? Okay.
So yeah, I like this little teal zigzag along the cape here because it's very different from everything else that's on the model.
Now, what is cool here is that it's clean and dirty, and that what I mean by that is that the lines are clean and there's good blends, there's good differentiation of colors, but it does look like somebody who just crawled out of the swamp. And I really do like the purple glow, but mainly because I'm a Southern boy and from Southern Louisiana, and Mardi Gras is important to me. So anything that's purple and gold or purple, gold, and green, I'm happy with.
You might like one of the ones I got coming later then. But before then,
show me what you've got.
Jordan, this is one that you had looked at.
Oh, yeah.
Dead Man.
I'm a big fan of the planking bases.
So for Bullfrog Games, painted up some dead pirates.
Dead men tell no tale.
I like seeing alternative and fun and interesting basing. It adds way more than I ever give it credit for to a miniature to have a good base. Like, models just don't look complete to me if they don't have some basing on them at all. It's just like they look really good, they look painted, they look, fancy, but basing just adds this weird element of completion to a model.
Yep.
Like with a studio model, I don't feel like a model's ever done, even if it's completely painted until the base is done.
That's right.
It's just like this really weird like switch that turns on in my brain.
Well, also like getting a good base on there is it's not hard. It's not difficult to make a base unique and give it some personality. I mean, certainly you can make it complex and difficult, but it doesn't have to be.
Throw some dirt on it.
Throw some dirt on it.
What we got next?
Next, we got Thugrash.
That base is sexy as... Oh, my God. The whole paint scheme. Oh,
Yeah,
they're doing the comic book.
I really dig
yeah.
this. This is sweet.
This is the comic book paint scheme.
Steven Sojitno. I probably said that wrong, so I apologize, Steven. But great work on this awesome model. Yeah, I'm loving like these little hash marks all here. So instead of doing like blended shading, getting actual like comic book inking style lines on there. I mean, this is a nice photo. This is just a nice, crisp looking model.
That base, is that base all free-handed?
It looks like it is all free-handed.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. This is amazing, dude. That's great. I don't even know what else to say. Just that is striking to look at.
So I forgot. Sometimes we had different views. I didn't look.
God,
and see
the
if there was
highlighting
another
is
one,
so
dude.
crisp. The shading is so crisp. Steven, be proud of yourself.
Nice job, Steven. All right, and then here we go from a guy who never, ever, ever watches any of our streams, never joins us in chat, Riker's Iron.
Oh, yeah.
What did he do?
This is cool as a convergence galvanizer, but
it's like scrapped
it's
together.
like so Mad
Yeah.
Max. Look at that. This thing lives in the wasteland.
Did Riker's Iron tear this thing apart and then weld it back together?
So I really dig.
Let's see. Is it like it's like a scrapyard model, right? Like,
Yeah, I really dig having like super heavy weathering on models. I think it looks really, really, really cool, and I think this is a pretty well done kind of effect of that.
Oh, it's literally a scrapyard model for the game I made and no quarter. Scrapyard.
Oh, is it actually?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. Like I was like, this looks like a scrapyard model, and then I looked at the thing he posted where he's like finished scrapyard model. My heel bot for the Rikers Rusty Wreckers Warjack team, which
That's so
Scrapyard
funny.
was a Warjack arena fighting game I did for no quarter.
Well, there you go.
Rikers Iron looks amazing.
Yeah, that's rad.
Like I just looked at it and was like, what happened? What happened to this little galvanizer?
Well, we got one more from Riker's Iron actually. And this is the other one since you mentioned that you like Mardi Gras. So he did painted up a heretic.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, Riker, if you're listening to this, you're gonna take that model, you're gonna say bye to it. You're gonna pack it up in foam. You're gonna ship it directly to me. I'm gonna take it from you, and I'll say thanks. So thank you in advance for giving me that model because I want it. I want it on my desk, and
before he actually ships it to you.
and yeah. Now you could not ship it to me, but I will still have it. That looks amazing.
Now he's done a little bit of conversion work on this one. I think specifically in the mask, right? Like
Yes.
this was not originally Jester's mask; it was more like a sun face.
It's so good.
Yeah.
The hair.
The hair. But what I thought, so one of my things is,
He free-handed diamonds on the base.
I know that when I typically make color choices, I get afraid to use too many colors at once. Like because it can look very busy. And certainly that can work when you do it correctly. And this works. Like there's a lot of color going on in there. All the colors work together. So it's very busy, very vibrant. But I think one thing that he did that was very important was, since we've talked before about wanting to focus on the face, on this model, he has made a very bright, vibrant outfit and actually like made the face negative.
Yeah.
Because and that actually draws your eye to the face because now it's just this dark space in all of that color instead of, what would be a brightly painted face in kind of, more of a drab costume or something. So I thought that was very
agree.
clever.
And when I've got it here in the office, you and I can take a look at it in person.
Yeah, and even having a painted face on the staff isn't detracting, isn't taking away my attention from his actual face. So very nice. Thank you, everybody, for bringing those minis in. Oh, here we go. We'll take a look. He's did a little free.
Oh, the back end of the
here.
staff is it's the traditional Mardi Gras smiling, and it's the drama masks.
That is awesome.
Hungerford's so happy right
You
now.
have no. I'm literally have my hands on the side of my face like the kid in Home Alone. I'm just like, this is so legit. The diamond pattern on the bottom of the staff is so freaking legit. I'm taking it from you.
I love that it looks like as the heretic moves forward, he leaves behind a path of fruity pebbles.
Oh, man, this is talent right here.
Fantastic! Oh, look at this. See, now I'm getting surprised because I did not.
Yeah, we
didn't
didn't see
notice
any of
these
this.
photos. That is more terrifying than the original Skin and Moans. Oh my god!
Oh. Hope none of you are afraid of clowns.
Excellent.
That's horrifying.
All right, thank you.
Let's see what chat was talking about
I-
that whole time.
So if you have anybody who's painting, please take photos of your minis, send them to Instagram with the hashtag P3Painters. You can also try Facebook. And we'd love to look at your pictures and share them with other people.
Yes, very much so. So I'm going to let this guy dry for a minute because I just put a pretty heavy wash on him to redefine all those armor plates. But this is kind of mostly where we want to be. That was another thing. So this is the current color of the flags. And I'm not sure that I want to keep it this color.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put out a little poll to see what color people will think that we should do this.
Right now.
Yeah, why not?
All right,
do it.
chat. So, chat, take a look at this. That's not the traditional white, but show the Molik Karn that you're doing right now, because this is what you're asking is what Molik Karn's banner.
I mean, I'm gonna have all the banners be the same color.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be one of those like, this is kind of gonna make a change throughout the whole army. I wanted a little bit more color. I feel like this is a little too similar to the skin, which is something that it looks good, and I like the freehand on it, but I want a little bit more color.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like a really dirty orange, something like that, perhaps. Like maybe an off brown of some kind. Fix this up.
Forged of Soul says purple.
Purple?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm into purple. We got too much red going on. It's not really going to work. I'm thinking like orange or what's a good, maybe a gray-green of some kind.
Nate Brooks says, if you leave it up to chat, you'll be painting purple.
Well, I've done enough purple for chat before, okay? We can move on to another color. Purple chat.
So we got a few others. Zulaman says yellow-orange.
Okay.
Flippy Dippy 413 says jade.
That's not a horrible idea either.
And then we got Ted Alexander Kegley, who I think seems to be on board with your orange, says burnt sienna.
Striker 911.
Pulling out the artword name for dark
S. Riker
orange.
911. I actually like that a lot. Have it be kind of like a dark orange that's sun faded. That's a pretty cool idea. Let's try that out on one.
What
of these
about
other guys.
like bed sheets? White bed sheets, super crisp. Like what they're doing is they're hanging their laundry on their banners.
laundry on their banners?
Yeah, like imagine that, like, all the undergarments the Skorne wear. I imagine that Skorne have undergarments. They have to get them out to dry and somewhere when they clean them. So they put them on the backs of their beast banners to, like a classic clothesline.
We can't paint him like my sheets because you won't be able to put Darth Vader on there.
He could. He could freehand it.
No free hands for you.
So what are you thinking? Which you going with that?
So I'm gonna try this faded orange look, and we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm doing it on one of these other guys just to have a little bit of. Plus, I don't want to touch Karn while he's drying right now.
Well, while you're trying that, why don't we pull up another CFAC? We got 2 more for the show. While you were getting down that base, and we can kind of see where you're going with it. Your CFAX sound effect is horrifying. I love it.
I love the look on your face when I first played it for you. Because I was expecting this amazed, amused reaction, and it was more bemused, like you didn't know what to do.
I thought you were trolling. All right, here's our second CFAX question for everybody in chat. So see if you can figure this one out. Which Skorne house first captured Molik Karn?
I'm going to give everybody a chance to put in their answer, and then we'll come back.
Doug Seacat says that I would bring deep shame on my house by flying my undergarments on my banner as a scorn house. Doug, I would bring deep shame on my house no matter what I do. I've brought deep shame on my house IRL, sir. So, Dragon Pup says he thinks it's House Balash. Quasator 8086 says I think it's Rosheth's house, but we're looking for the name of the house itself. Nate Brooks says Waffle House.
It's my favorite scorn house.
My favorite. I love Waffle House. Those guys are just cool.
Get your waffles on the side of torture.
Just Reavers shooting syrup at people.
So while we're having everybody bring in their answers, Nick Barbian has another question about what P3 colors would you recommend, Jordan, if you were trying to do a cooler gold, specifically for non-metallic metals?
We got the right answer, by the way, in chat. Do we want to go over that before he gets into that one, or we let?
No. Let's let people answer.
Oh, okay.
And so it's not.
It's my first time doing.
it's not-
It's my first time doing CFAX, man. I don't know the rules.
It's not first come first serve. Everybody gets a chance to answer.
Got it.
And then we celebrate those who got it right from the chaff of those who didn't.
Got it.
So for non-metallic metal gold, cool gold, I would use Rucksack Tan as the base. And then I would probably shade it with like coal black and battlefield brown. Like shade it a little bit. Oh man, that's tough. I've not actually done non-metallic metal gold very much. So I'd really have to like play around with it. But the things that kind of come up in my brain are just like Rucksack Tan, moldy, the colors would be like moldy ochre, Rucksack Tan, like battlefield brown, and a little bit of like coal black or something to bring that coolness in. Or you could do just straight.
What approach can someone do when they're trying to kind of convert a metallic color scheme to non-metallic metal? Like when you're trying to choose these colors, what are you thinking?
So I'm thinking of like just the color palette that I want for the gold, because obviously you're going to have like really bright whites and really like dark colors in there to create that like contrast that creates the effect of non-metallic metal. But man, it's tough to make that conversion because I don't typically work with cool golds in general. Like this is about as cool as I typically go. But I've seen some cool golds, and it's like if you were to do a metallic version, I would say use like brass balls, a little bit of like blighted gold, and use some like coal black in there, and that'll get you a pretty cool gold. But it depends on how cold you want it to be. And cool and warm is, while not a subjective idea, it is also still a little subjective at the same time. Like some people will see something a little bit more cool or a little bit more warmer than something else. Yeah, that's a difficult question. I would say play around with it and see kind of what you think.
Cool.
Or look up some references of cool non-metallic golds and then kind of go from there. Like references are key. Like look up like real world gold that is like a cooler gold and use that as a reference to kind of pull the colors that you want.
I'm curious what happens if I Google image search cool real world gold.
No, you don't want to Google it that way. You just want to Google gold and find something that's cool.
I know that's what they should do. But I'm me, so
You never do what I suggest that you do.
while we're looking at what's like a dinner set, like it's just a bunch of pictures of furniture. That's weird.
Yeah, because you're asking the wrong question there, but.
And then people playing craps. It's just people playing craps and dinner. All right. So let's go ahead and get to the answer for the CFAC. Which Skorne house first captured Molik Karn? Several of you in the chat got it right. The answer is House Kofar. This is the house that Tyrant Xerxes, by the way, is a part of. So to everyone that got it right in chat, congratulations. We don't have any of the add-ons on Twitch added where you can like bet gold or anything for getting questions right, but maybe one day we'll see.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. Sabian, Asher, are we taking questions on the Infernal color scheme?
I mean, what's your question?
All right, Sabian, hit us up with your question. So tell us about what you're doing on the banner while Sabian gets back to us with the question.
I'm just putting some shades in there
Okay.
right now with a little bit of bloodstone.
Are you just using like mixing medium and bloodstone to?
No, I'm just using bloodstone mixed in with the Bogran brown I used for the base coat.
Okay, cool.
And are you planning to do any freehanding or anything on that flag afterwards?
Probably.
Oh, what are you gonna freehand? Just like runes and stuff, or?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you were gonna freehand a little sun in the middle.
That's a good idea.
No
Yeah.
Dark Lords from a
like that.
galaxy far, far away?
Done. You've achieved.
Yeah, a
victory.
little sun in the
100%.
middle.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna do it.
I like it. I think, whoa.
Ooh, nice splat sound.
Your sound effects keep upgrading. Eventually, you're not going to need us. You'll just have soundboards. You'll pull sound clips from all the entire ages of the streaming. So, like, you'll just have, like, a best of. You'll have the after hours one for Schick whenever he starts cursing.
That was his big thing. He always wanted me to go. He's like, I'm done being on camera and doing stuff. He's like, I'll sit down, I'll read the dictionary,
and just create a
and
soundboard
I'll
of me.
never have to do this again. You just pull every word I ever say and
Not every
piece it
word.
together.
A couple of the bombs you got to leave out there. You know what I'm talking.
That's true. Yeah.
We can have old school like Ed Burrell and Michael Plummer soundboards from like TempleCon 2012. Some of the worst some of the worst best dad jokes I've ever heard. What are you like stippling in the paint?
Yeah.
I don't okay.
So
I don't understand your technique. Please explain.
Yeah. So I'm stippling this color in to create texture.
And which color is that, Jordan?
This is mediocre. Yeah, mediocre. So one of the cool things that you can do when you're painting cloth is because cloth tends to not be super smooth like a painted armor plate would be. It's much more fibrous and it's got texture to it. You can do cool like stippling effects to create that texture on the model. So that's kind of what I'm doing here to create this like stippled kind of uneven texture, which tends to look really good and is a pretty effective way of showing cloth.
Cool. Like wear and tear on a cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sabian got back with the question. They just want to know, what does the human flesh look like in the Infernals? Is it just a normal person, or is it corrupted and all like creepy and gross?
I don't know for sure. I think it's just normal.
Yeah.
I think it actually changes depending on who it is, right?
That very well might be the case.
Like Regna is a part of Kadoran nobility, and she should look like a princess.
Yeah.
She's not going to look all evil and stuff. But I imagine a few of them, like the Black Knight in particular, like he looks a little like old and decrepit, and he might have paler skin.
Yeah.
So I think it is very much a collection of individuals, and the Infernalists themselves, the cultists, are all masked, so you can't actually see their skin.
Yeah.
All right, we are almost at the top of our hour, so let's do one more C-Fact.
You wanna do
real
another
quick.
C-Fact?
We got another C-Fact.
Okay. Because we're getting towards the end of the stream. All right, I'm going to try and read
Acceptance.
that. I am.
Embrace acceptance.
The question is, what brought Molik Karn to Makeda's attention? When he was out in the wilds, just being a strong Cyclops leader, chieftain, doing his thing, living his best life, kicking agonizers around, hunting down all kinds of Efreet, eating them, arm wrestling hydras. Dude's just a baller.
As you do.
Wait, no, what? They only have heads. They have no arms. Hydras.
They have very small T-Rex arms that are so small you can't see unless you get really close. They have 5 of them, little gribbly hands. That's what they use. Hydras like to eat nuts that fall out of trees, like acorns. But their heads are too big, and all they scoop up is sand and dirt in their mouth. So they use their gribbly little tiny hands to pick up the acorns, and then they just toss them up and eat them like popcorn.
And for centuries, that's the scorn thought that hydras ate sand.
For centuries.
But turns out little acorns.
Little acorns.
Little
Tiny acorns. Yeah, so what brought Molik Karn to Makeda's attention? We spelled Makeda wrong.
I know. I was hoping you would not point that out.
I can look
like
at
there's only so much I can do when I'm sorry.
It's
Everybody, I'm sorry.
Mikida.
Makeda.
What brought Molik Karn to Mikida's attention?
I'm just going to do this right here.
Well, it's because we can fix
Bam.
it, because we're professionals.
Fixed.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's see if Chat's
got
it. Are you just highlighting the upper ridges of the banner right now?
Yeah.
Vandabeest, it is not the extra finger. Although, if that's the source of his power, that would be amazing. She's like, he has 4 fingers. He'd be an amazing Cyclops Warbeast.
Yeah. What color are you using for the highlights on the upper folds there?
This is moldy ochre.
So it's moldy ochre. So wait, you use moldy ochre for the shading and for the
No, so I'm using literally all of the ochre colors in.
Oh,
in
that
range.
was. I'm sorry. That was meaty ochre. Meaty ochre you
Yeah.
used for the shade, and moldy ochre you're using for the highlight.
Yep.
Let me update my...
And you're not. It's not like an edge highlight you're doing, right? You're kind of like stippling along the tops.
Yep.
I learned so much watching you paint, Jordan, but that's probably because you get paid to do it for a living and are a professional and are far more talented than I am. Holy crap! That edge. Hold on. How did you get your edge that smooth? Look at the edge under that bottom, like, so you have the raised pronounced fold, right, in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath that, you've got the dark line of shade.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got that straight line of highlight. But there's nothing, like, normally when I edge highlight, I have to hold my brush at a 45-degree angle and run along a straighter edge. I have difficulty doing kind of what you're doing right now, which is just freehand edge highlighting. How are you doing that?
Practice.
Okay. My problem is my brush always
do it a lot.
My brush flattens out a little bit. Like when I do it, like I'll the stroke will start fine. My hands are steady, but then the brush flattens, and then the line gets like fat.
It's paint consistency, I think, too. Like, this is a pretty watered down paint that I'm using. Like, this is, you can see on my thumb, this is very, very watery. But yeah, and then just like I'm still doing very, very, very light stippling on here to get this effect to work.
For our CFAC, by the way, we have to disqualify Dank Legacy, who literally copy-pasted the answer from the book. Dank. It's not how this game works.
But I do want to applaud Striker 911 because power bombing Titans through tables is not the accurate answer, but it's also not wrong.
It's not.
It is related. So let's go to, hold on, the last time for this stream today. And the answer is...
Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to give the answer in a second. I'm just literally looking at Jordan's edge highlighting at the moment and how... It's just amazing to watch how much control you have over your brush. I'm really impressed. But, I mean, I shouldn't be because this is what you do. But I watch it and I'm still just like, wow, man. I wish I had that much control. Okay, yes. The answer of what brought Molik Karn to Makeda's attention is that when they finally got up to him, the Beastmasters couldn't actually, like the Beastmasters of Kofar couldn't tame him. He was too much of a baller, and he just like power bombed them through tables and suplexed them everywhere, and like they had nothing to do. So Makeda, busy as she was, took on the task personally of binding him to her will, actually in a fighting arena in the Army of the Western Reaches. And there's a kind of a rumor that goes amongst the soldiers and the house that Molik Karn is not actually tamed. He just heeds Makeda only because she bested him and basically showed her dominance so much. So he'll listen to her, but anyone else, he's going right back to being a jerk.
He's one bad Christmas away from just table flipping.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, we're getting towards the end of the stream, and anything else you want to? A couple of people in chat, by the way, are really loving the technique you're using. Becky Red over on Facebook says she'll be using that look as well on her Ragman. Love the fabric look and the technique as well. So what you're doing there is inspired Becky.
Glad to hear that.
But did you have anything you wanna let us know before we start ending the stream?
I think pretty good.
Oh my God, your fade technique is looking legit. That's so cool.
Are you planning to repeat that fabric color anywhere else on the model, or is it only
this
going to exist
might
on the
just
banner?
be the cloth color for the models in general.
And then you're gonna freehand a sun over this.
Yes.
What color do you think your sun will be?
It's probably gonna just be black.
Like a black sun?
Yeah.
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 That'll be interesting to do, especially because when you've got a model that's got that texture, like the actual sculpted texture, that it's folded, right? It's blowing in the wind. How do you draw something that should be like if you straighten this out, which you can't, it should be a straight sun, and you've got to kind of like be able to see what it would look like in real life, right?
Yeah. So you shrink the image a little bit, right? So you imagine that some of it's being folded underneath. So you kind of just make it look like it's been folded underneath. So, for instance, if I were to, let's not use that. Let's do. I mean, I guess I could just freehand it on this side, right? I'll do it now. Screw it.
Just gonna knock it out real quick.
Why not?
Stream can go a little long.
Sure.
If you want to watch Jordan just straight up freehand a sun on a banner. Oh. No, that's not human. You're photoshopping this in. That is a perfect circle.
I will say that been looking at miniatures through a camera for a number of years now. It is very easy to forget that seeing it at this view, how magnified it is, and you're like, oh man, that's so crazy. And then you sit down to replicate it at home and realize how zoomed in that view has been. And then trying to do things like this with just my normal vision becomes way more difficult.
I'm just sitting here almost mouth agape watching. Freehand blows my mind. Especially doing something like drawing a circle like as perfect as that circle is. Yeah, Becky Red on Facebook saying that they wish they could do that. What you just did.
And Quasador says, wants to know if you ever get any eye strain issues from detail work. I mean, you do literally paint all day.
A little bit, not super frequently.
Is there a way that you deal with it?
Take pretty frequent breaks. Like I definitely will take 5 to 10 minutes here and there to just kind of rest my eyes every once in a while, just to keep myself from hurting my eyes. I'm gonna open this up a little bit.
I have a weird habit whenever I paint really fine detail. I hold my breath.
That's a great habit.
And so I just noticed it, and the reason I'm bringing it up is I'm watching Jordan freehand the sun, and I'm holding my breath. I was reflexively holding my breath watching him do it, and I was like, why? Oh, I need to breathe.
Yeah, it's supposed to steady your hand a little bit. I think that's how snipers in movies do it too.
I would not trust movies for real world.
Wrong answer.
Oh yeah,
No, that's where you get all your life advice.
Really?
Yeah.
What movie did you get the most life advice from? Jordan, this question's also to you while you're freehanding. Which movie gave you the most life advice? The lessons you took to heart.
Well, apparently because I haven't seen any films before.
That is true. There's a lot you have not watched.
There's a lot I have not watched. So I'm kind of happy with this general design. I'll clean it up a little bit later, but that's just kind of the general.
The start to it.
Yeah, I think I like that design for the icon for my army or whatever, what have you, sigil.
You still haven't let us know what movie gave you the best life advice, though.
Oh, I don't know.
Tony?
Die Hard.
Give you the best life advice?
Never take your shoes off.
How do you sleep? How do you shower?
Man, that is a hard
You might have
scene
to walk
watch.
on some broken glass at
I'm
any
not gonna
moment.
lie.
You never know.
That is a really, really hard scene to watch.
Oh, where you walked across the broken glass?
Yeah.
You just run around a skyscraper with no shoes, glass and bullets everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just don't take your shoes off?
You didn't take that from that movie?
No. I took from expect every holiday party to be a hostage situation.
Well, they're related.
They are.
And because of that, don't take your shoes off. All right, how about we compromise? Not never take your shoes off. Never take your shoes off at a holiday party. At a corporate holiday party.
At a corporate holiday party, never take your shoes off.
All right. I think we're going to start wrapping it up here, folks. Oh, I'm just adding in some more color. So while Jordan's finishing that, Hungerford, do you want to take us out? Give us a little recap on our schedules and...
Yeah, of course. So first off, everybody, thanks for watching and hanging out with us. If you want to watch Jordan paint and sort of talk to him and the different guests that come on the show, you can join us every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific for Get Your Paint On. Jordan's always painting different things, sometimes things for his own personal army like this Molik Karn, sometimes different studio models. You get some previews sometimes of models that people haven't seen. Always runs for an hour. Join us on Twitch and Facebook and come ask questions. Also, every Wednesday, you can join myself, Jeff Olson, and Big Papa Oz for the Dev Hangout. Usually we're talking about CID, but we talk about other things as well. And then we have 2 monthly shows we do. The Staff Showdown, which is returning tomorrow, where the staff do battle reports live, and you can hang out and cheer or boo us and ask us different questions. Oz and I will be playing Monster Apocalypse tomorrow. And then Primecast Live is the show where we get people throughout the company and talk about things that we normally don't get a chance to spotlight. What's going on in sculpting, what's going on with conventions, cool different things like that. Also, we talked about this early in the show when we were showing everybody's really sweet paint jobs that Tony and I were talking about. But don't forget that you can post your photos with hashtag P3Painters on Instagram. And if you want us to see them and possibly showcase them here on Get Your Paint On, just put them up on that Instagram. Again, that's hashtag P3Painters. And we might ooh and ah over your sweet models and your sweet conversions. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope to see you next time. Let's take one last look at Jordan's sweet, sweet son he's working on.
You guys are killing me. You got me in the freaking zone.
It looks amazing, though, dude.
So there's your...
That's your house sigil?
Your house sigil.
That looks great, man.
Might change it a little bit. We'll see. But I'm liking where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, for what, you did that in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Maybe less?
Maybe less.
Pretty good start for 20 minutes or less of freehanding.
and something you're going to repeat on your other models as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I look forward to seeing y'all next week. And I'm not quite sure what we're painting next week, but I'm sure it'll be fun. Thanks for joining us. Take it easy.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.